Thank you all, and a very warm welcome to all those who participate in this session. As you probably have seen in the agenda, we're first going to hear 3 testimonials of entrepreneurs who are already doing business in Hong Kong and the Greater Bay Area, and then there will be plenty space for questions. Firstly, I would like to present to you Mr. Keith Jackson, CEO of Brandon Medical. Brandon Medical is a renowned designer and manufacturer of technological solutions for operating theaters, critical care, and primary care facilities. Keith will share with us his Hong Kong and Asia journey so far. So Keith, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thanks for the warm welcome and introduction. I will share a few slides. If you just give me a second, I'll bring those up. So yes, hello everybody. I'm Keith Jackson. I'm CEO of Brandon Medical. And Brandon Medical not only design and manufacture, but also install innovative operating theatre equipment in a wide range of clinical settings. This is a very consultative sales process, and increasingly we are creating smart, interconnected operating rooms using the Internet of Things, and with things like over-the-air software updates and remote condition monitoring of equipment to ensure it's operating in peak condition. And we can do things like preventative maintenance. We're also using the very latest digital audiovisual solutions as well to support clinicians and clinical teams. The business is a multi-award winning company, a small, medium-sized enterprise based in Leeds in the UK with 75 skilled employees. And we've won Queen's Awards for international trade, for innovation, a Board of Trade Award winner, and I am a UK Department of International Trade export champion, encouraging other companies to expand internationally. And in spite of the challenges from the COVID global pandemic, Brandon Medical grew by 34% last year. So I have 28 years export experience, all of this in healthcare and medtech. And my first visit to Hong Kong and also to Macau and Shenzhen was in 1996. However, that was a holiday. And I was struck by the dynamism, the energy, the pace of the region and the Greater Bay Area. And a lot has changed since then, but this vibrancy is even stronger, I think, than it was then. I've more than 8 years experience of trade with Hong Kong and with mainland China, but less than 8 minutes to share some key learning points. And as CEO of my previous company, an orthopedic medical device manufacturer, I managed to forge a strategic partnership with a domestic Chinese company in Beijing to access the huge Chinese market. And this partnership became multifaceted. It included things like reciprocal manufacturing, both in Beijing, but also in Sheffield, co-development of new products involving research from leading universities, and ultimately led to an exit when the Chinese partner bought the British company, and I found myself doing other things. Turning to Brandon Medical, Brandon have successfully delivered healthcare projects in more than 70 countries, including 8 Belt and Road countries in both the public and the private sector. And in the last 12 months, despite the challenge of the pandemic, this has also included some very challenging markets, such as Libya and Iraq, rebuilding hospitals after sustained periods of conflict. We have local nationals employed as regional sales managers in Jordan, serving the Middle East and North Africa, in India, and in Malaysia, where we've recently established an Asia-Pacific office and showroom in Kuala Lumpur. I've visited Hong Kong many times, and Brandon Medical are very fortunate to have a good, reliable partner there. I often make them smile when I do get the opportunity to visit, because I often bring tea from Yorkshire, which they like, but it's quite ironic, I think. But it's essential to establish trust. And so what we've done together is to tackle some smaller projects first, with less complex and less expensive equipment to build credibility. It then puts us in a much stronger position to tender for much larger project opportunities. So starting with things like examination lights for clinics and outpatient departments, and then turning to larger projects such as new or upgraded hospital operating theatres. And that approach allows us to then have greater credibility and market insight to access and be seriously considered for all those larger project opportunities. Now, at last count, I think there are 43 public sector hospitals and 12 private hospitals in Kowloon and Hong Kong. And there's been a significant hospital development program across the public sector. Now, my numbers might be a little bit out of date, but I understand that recurrent expenditure on medicine and healthcare is around $57 billion. And that represents an increase of more than 90% compared with a decade ago. And we've heard some of the drivers earlier, aging population and perhaps increased patient expectations. I think the next 10 years, there is a plan to spend 270 billion Hong Kong dollars. So that's lots of opportunities if we work successfully with our partners. And there's certainly a healthy appetite for innovative, high quality British brands at a competitive price and with excellent customer support, both in terms of the installation, but also after sales care support and maintenance. So Brandon Medical have used a successful foothold in Hong Kong to act as a hub to develop across the region. And I think with a business culture that's much more familiar to European companies, especially British ones, and English is widely spoken, it's a great base from which to expand across that region. So here's just a few, Here's just a few examples of some recent projects to update hospitals and some new hospital builds in both Vietnam and the Philippines. But we've also been expanding in Thailand and Malaysia and Indonesia in particular, utilizing our networks to reach into new project opportunities, but also to engage with the various stakeholders. And we're very fortunate to have a well-connected partner in Hong Kong who can assist us with that, as are other partners in other countries where we share market intelligence, we share project opportunities, because often they're delivered by principal contractors who are actually operating in multiple countries, multiple territories. We're also expanding north from Hong Kong to mainland China. And we did try a partnership with a company there, but it had a false start. And I think the learning there was it was a lack of shared goals and perhaps a lack of commitment from our partner. But with support from a company called Akaling, we've identified a new state-owned enterprise partner in Beijing. And we've been nurturing this relationship very carefully. And perhaps it's been a little bit of an extra challenge because we've been doing that remotely because of COVID. And my last visit to the region was actually in January 2020 for Spring Festival. But with some focused communication, regular dialogue, we have successfully signed a distribution agreement in August for the whole of mainland China. We're now working in partnership on achieving the necessary regulatory approvals. In fact, the first round of product testing was passed last week, and expecting our first sales in Q4 of next year. And that will be equipping 3 new hospitals, full suites of operating equipment. So I think the key really is to find and develop the right partner, have shared goals, have long-term objectives, and to build trust. I think a little bit more challenging, working remotely, of course, to ensure company-wide commitment to not only build business, but to support our partners and to adapt to perhaps different ways of working. And I think the third thing is to work on your own personal cultural fluency. So investing time to learn about the differences and appreciate those differences. So thank you for your attention, and thank you for the opportunity to share some of my experience with you.
Thank you, Keith, and congratulations on that, the recent contract with the distributor for the mainland China market. That sounds very exciting. Congrats. So questions for Keith after the next 2 speakers. Then we go to Mr. Lorenzo Di Ciaccio, I'm sure I pronounce it wrong, Lorenzo, forgive me, CEO and co-founder of PDS, very interesting company, an Italian startup, they call themselves still, a technological solution to make it possible for people who are deaf or hard of hearing to make normal phone calls. PDS was founded in 2013, is now active in 14 countries. And Lorenzo, tell us a bit about PDS in Hong Kong.
Okay, hi, Ola. So you pronounced correctly my name and surname, so double success for you. And thanks for this introduction. So I'm also pleased to share my experience of entering in Hong Kong. And as you mentioned, my company is dealing with deaf and hard of hearing people and removing digital barriers in the communication. And the reason why we decided to go in Hong Kong is for more an impact vision. So 1/3 of the deaf population lives in China. So our technology, if we want to have an impact on the deaf in the world, we can't stay out of China. So I will start sharing some screen on border landing. Okay, hope it will be ready. Yeah. So everything started in 2013, but the journey in China was almost 40 years old. So we started 40 years ago, and due to the politically and technical restriction, we couldn't launch directly in China. We had a pilot project in Beijing, but then in order to develop more the commercial network, we need to find a better partner where we can operate with a foreign company. That was forbidden for the mainland China. As I mentioned, 1/3 of the deaf population lives in China. In Hong Kong, it's just a small niche, but there is very, very high sensibility on the topic. And on this aspect, that Hong Kong has always moved a little bit advanced in respect to the mainland China. There's more sensibility that maybe come from the diversity and inclusion world. So the app works in a very easy way. So we transform a chat in a phone call using text-to-speech and voice recognition technology. So basically, the user type a message. There is a real phone call going on. And during this phone call, an artificial voice will read my message. And in real time, every sentence pronounced from the other person is converted to text. So that person can read it. I will not go that too much in details, but just to show who are our customer, we are dealing with large enterprise, with public offices that generally have a call center. The idea we opened in Hong Kong was there was a robbery in an apartment owned by deaf people, a deaf family, and they were hiding in the downstairs, in the basement, without having the chance to call the police. And things like that sounds very absurd, and also raise the citizenship awareness about some situation that sounds very weird. So our solution doesn't have impact on the existing infrastructure, and is a software as a service solution. So this is the launching event, and it's one of the first things is having an impact on the way we do business. Of course, this was before the pandemic, and there was kind of rigor and a lot of importance was given to our partners, because of course, without a partner, we couldn't have a great success in Hong Kong. So we decided to go for one of the biggest players was CSL, the national phone company, and we decided to talk with them, explain the issue, because they are selling a product that is not suitable for all the population. So they embraced the challenge, and they were very helpful, providing us a support for the launching event. And this was in the Element store, was the flagship store of CSL, and they got a lot of invitation, a lot of people from the deaf community, but also from the government. So it was a very fulfilling experience. Of course, we need to have one person there. Now we hire our country manager in Hong Kong, and I think this is fundamental, having the help from local of some at least an agency that will know the business, the rules of business there, and it's very important to develop the business. So after that, we leverage on this event to get the attention of other companies, and that was our solution was very appreciated from all the local media, and then it was a very nice start, because when we got a partner, I think that was the wisest decision we have made, to choose like a great partner and work together to go to press coverage. So this is just what we have done with them, with CSL, is the mapping the IVR, so all the voice menu that they have on the phone. So in case the customer need to call them, they can use our app. And also we measure also the growth of the user. As I mentioned, in Hong Kong is a niche of users. It's not a huge numbers of deaf people, but there is a lot of awareness. So all the growth is mostly linear, and then we have a little spike when there was some event. So that is as all the consumer activity, especially when you're targeting a niche, this is the expectation of growth, and that is similar to Hong Kong to any other country we had. Today, also we are active in 14 countries, and definitely say that Hong Kong will be our trampoline to jump into mainland China. We were in the process to incorporate the company, a local company in Hong Kong. We couldn't made it before due to the pandemic situation, but of course this will raise a lot of attention to new challenges and new communication barriers, especially in the medicine and the telemedicine, hospital, and the emergency system. So we also got like attention from insurance and banks like DBS, and that was basically the story of our lending. So we also start involving the story of our users. So we got the last project was regarding the students, because the only 3% of deaf population get a degree against the 30% of average population. This is not because being deaf is some problem with the learning, but the problem is the learning, the educational system is not designed for deaf. So that it was our next challenge, and we got another great partner was the Chinese University of Hong Kong, supporting us in the first trial, because we were bringing captions during the class and having the contents available for all the students. Because especially in this situation, being deaf is like for me being Italian in Hong Kong. I was not able to understand nothing what people say. Even if I'm trying to learn the language, caption may give a lot of help in this process. So this is one example how disability may give a chance to bring new technology that will be useful for all. So thanks for this space, and then I'll leave space for more room for question if you have any, so feel free to ask.
Thanks, Lorenzo. Very interesting to hear how you can improve the lives of so many. In the interest of time, we quickly go to Martha. Martha Howe is the chairman of the Hong Kong Medical Device and Healthcare Device Industries Association. And Martha will do some quick sharing of successful case studies of foreign companies, of European companies in Hong Kong. Martha, the floor is yours. In the interest of time, and so as to have a bit of time for questions, if you could impress us all in 5-6 minutes, that would be fantastic. Thank you so much, Martha. Martha, are you with us?
Okay. Hi everyone. Sorry. Okay, I am mute. It's going to be challenging to finish my presentations in 8 minutes. So I make good use of the first 1-2 minutes for a very quick introduction of the industries associations. Okay, let me share my screen. Okay, well, Hong Kong Medical and Healthcare Device Industries Associations is one of the only professional associations in Hong Kong for the medical and healthcare device industries. We aim to contribute to the growth of medical industries in Hong Kong and mainland China, and ensure that safe and effective medical device ultimately benefit the public. So we have a very steady growth in our memberships, and we target to exceed 200 corporate members by the end of this year. And within our membership base, we have a very balanced compositions from manufacturing company to R&D distributors, importer and exporter. So that will enable us to provide a complete value chain for the medical and healthcare devices, from basic research all the way to post-market. So I'm going to skip this slides. That's all about all different kind of activities we provide to our members. And while even though the pandemic brought disruption to the business, our associations have organized more than 20 different kind of training courses, webinars, and charity events, and to provide up-to-date information for technologies and quality regulatory information to our member. So while today's event actually coincides with our flagship event tomorrow to be held at Science Park, which is related to digital healthcare development in Hong Kong. So now let me share one of a real case that demonstrates how our member provide values to the overseas company. So this is a technology startup company, relatively young, but they have a very unique technology who provide disruptive solutions for ECG monitoring, and it is a Class 2 medical device. Our member support this overseas company by providing the design for manufacturability proposal, and also improve the lead time, cost, and supply chain. And they also have this company to set up their initial trial regulatory batch bill for testing, submissions, and clinical trial. So on the demand side, that is our member customer side, they provide the product design. Some of them actually provide the concept instead of a complete design portfolio, and they are in charge of product marketing. So the rest on the supply side, that is what our member can provide. Include product manufacturing, supply chain management. And in many cases I have seen, our members also function as a kind of extended resources for the overseas company to function as an R&D collaborator, and also help the overseas company to scale up in short period of time. So, so as you can see, is a Class 2 device. The main device also have all different kind of challenges. And what our members achieve is to leverage the process engineering and project management, and set up a manufacturing line in China, and support a very aggressive schedule of this company to go for clinical trial. So this is also different kind of challenge for part of the whole assemblies. And our member companies also got a very good testimonial by the company. And this last page is a quick snapshot to show you the latest China NMPA policy to enable overseas company to get the local NMPA license more easy than before. In the past, you either need to set up your factory in China from scratch, or you need to partner with a OEM manufacturing, a CDMO in China. And that a lot of overseas companies may worry about the IP protections. So this MAH, Marketing Authorizations Holder policy, has been launched 2 years ago, and they allow an overseas company to set up entity in Hong Kong and a small entity in China, for example, Great Bay Area. And so the order IP will retain overseas and also the MAH entity. And in that case, after you get through NMPA, and you are free to look for a reliable manufacturing partner. So this is a quick snapshot about what I would like to share today. But I also want to share my views about the potentials of medical device industry. Well, amid the global pandemic, I think people work in place and study in place that create a new normal in our daily life. Under the new normal, I think interest in healthcare has definitely grown, which you can see from the number and scale of activities and investment. So, for example, we have, we have seen a lot of quarantine center worldwide that lead to adopt solutions for remote monitoring of patients, vital signal, etc. And that set a stage of health in place. It requires a large number of medical devices with emerging technologies and connectivities. I think in this industry, particularly in China, on the technology side, I firmly believe that this is the most exciting time for healthcare because of the technology we have at our disposal right now. We have a more mature ecosystems, and also, of course, a wake up from pandemic. Now, even small startup companies can participate in the ecosystems by the regime technologies to improve collaborations between the various stakeholders. And I think Hong Kong and China government has also clearly put a priority on healthcare and focuses on drugs and medical device innovations. And for example, the Hong Kong Science Park also recently launched another funding scheme to support clinical translation. So there's a lot of things going on, and tomorrow morning, our chief executive is going to give his last policy address in her current term, and I was hoping that there are some policies to support the fast growth in health technologies, as our associations also contribute by submitting our recommendations for this upcoming policy address. So let's wait to see. And let me pass the floor back to Paula, and I'm ready to answer any questions that participants may have.
Thank you, Martha, for making for pleading for this very powerful combination of the support your association can give, as well as the market possibilities, right, in Hong Kong as well as in mainland China. We have time for a couple of questions. Let me look. A good 5 minutes. I'm going to kick off with the first question, Keith, that I've seen come in, and it's for you. Quick question, hopefully quick answer, so we can also ask a question to Lorenzo and Martha. What was your biggest challenge when you entered the Hong Kong market that other entrepreneurs might learn from?
Yeah, probably the single biggest difference or challenge rather is the most obvious one, which is a very different business culture. I think East Asia has a very high context culture. It's quite different, and I think it's just taking the time to build trust, to appreciate the differences, and I think actually also having some boots on the ground, having somebody local as part of your team or working closely with your team so that you reorientate your approach more quickly. I think that would be the single biggest challenge, I think. Thanks
for that short and sweet answer. Lorenzo, a question for you that I've seen come in from the audience. Is active in such a niche market. What was the reason? And we've seen the numbers of potential clients of your service, your product around the world. What was the reason that you still wanted to also enter the Hong Kong market, even though that's a relatively small market in numbers?
Thanks for this question. And as I mentioned, the Hong Kong project was a kind of pilot to validate and get closer to the mainland China. For us, it's more a trampoline and a technologically validation point. So because in the first trial, when we tried to enter in the mainland China, the biggest challenge was, as Mr. Jackson said, there's a huge difference of culture. So we were too far away from them. So getting a little bit closer, even on the economical point of view, is in our case is not worth it because it's very low numbers, but it's a very great power for representation the validation of the service, and also for raising capitals. So we were of course receiving a lot of requests for and looking for the right partner. So this is the main reason we made that.
Right. So it's a combination of let's say China for beginners, right? And the potential fundraising as well. Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks, Martha. Before we come to the closing, because the TDC is quite strict, but we still have 3 minutes. A question for you. Have you seen, since you describe a booming market in Hong Kong and also just across the border, right? In the vast market of mainland China, have you seen recently increasing interest from foreign companies? And are more companies approaching you? What about that?
Well, for sure, yes. My quick answer is yes. Our associations have very close relationship with Consul General from different countries set aside in Hong Kong. So we work closely with Consul General of Israel, Australia, Canada, UK, US. And we also get increasing inquiries from them to hoping to understand more about what kind of ecosystems we have and how we can function as a value provider for them, and also function as a facilitator to get them connected to the related potential collaboration partners.
Okay. Well, great to hear that. Maybe I should repeat for the whole audience of this session that also these presentations, if the speakers are willing, which I hope they are, will be shared with all those who attended, right? So you can all see, I hope on the last page of the presentations, the contact data of our speakers of today. And I hope that Keith, Lorenza, Marta, and assume you'll be happy to answer more detailed questions of attendees of today. Then in the last 30 seconds that I have, a big and warm welcome and welcome to everybody to please dive into the possibilities in this booming medical device market. A big round of applause for our speakers, Keith, Lorenzo, Marta. Marta, may I wish you the best of luck with the event tomorrow. And Keith and Lorenzo, thanks. Best of luck in your future growth in Asia, and a very good rest of the day. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
And this will then close our session. Thank you. Bye for now. Bye bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Paula, and all the speakers. Thank you.